Some people need their pull-up training fixed, and the thing is, those people aren't just beginners. So I'm going to run straight through all the specific techniques, programming details, specific variations, and progressions that I get asked about every single week. If you make it to the end, you'll have complete mastery over your pull-up training. If you can't do a pull-up yet, rows are your new best friend. Get under a dip bar, under some rings, or even grab a barbell or a row machine at the gym and start pulling. Keep your grip about shoulder width, keep the elbows in, and you'll be hitting the exact same muscles that you would be hitting on a pull-up, just at some different angles. These will build those lats and elbow flexors that you'll need for your first pull-up progressions, which are either going to be step-up negatives where you step up, grab the bar, squeeze at the top and try to control your lowering down, or my preference is spending a few bucks on a set of bands because these are going to come in handy later, and then progressing your way down the bands until you get your first unassisted pull-up. If you want to start getting the strongest pull-ups possible as fast as possible, getting your grip dialed in is key. Rather than hanging from your fingers, you're going to want to reach your hand over the top of the bar so that your knuckles are pointing to the sky, giving yourself an overgrip or a semi-false grip. This not only gives you more surface area to stick to the bar with, but it also allows you to squeeze the bar not just with the fingers, but with your whole hand. It can feel a bit unnatural to start with, but the sooner you start making this your automatic way of gripping the bar, the sooner you'll start seeing the strength benefits. Pair this with some chalk or grip tape like all the best pull-up athletes in the world do, and you'll make sure you're never missing out on pull-up gains because of a slick bar or some tired forearms. How much range do you really want with your pull-ups? Some people seem convinced that the only way to do a pull-up is with completely full range of motion where you start all the way down in a dead hang, initiate with a scapular pull, and pull all the way through until it's a chest to bar pull-up. While there are some benefits to strengthening these end ranges at the top and bottom, the fact that these make the top and bottom so much weaker than they already are means that using these as the main way you do your pull-ups comes at the steep cost of sacrificing significant extra weight or significant reps that you could be doing instead. Considering the muscles that you work in those ranges are better hit with other exercises anyway, the best way to standardize your pull-up form is to start in an active hang with your elbows locked and then pull out of the bottom, making your way up until you get your chin just over the top of the bar. Using the straight elbows and your chin clearing the bar is a much better way to standardize your form because it gives you something more objective to look for at the bottom of the top of the rep, and having this as an accurate, clear standard is super important because without a clear standard, you never know if you're making good progress or if one set from week to week was simply just better or worse form. This means your reps will be consistent, you'll pull more weight and do more reps, and it means that your lats and arms will get more growth. Should you be focusing on pull-ups or focusing on chin-ups? If you want the strongest pull possible, it does matter which one you choose. Both require the lats primarily, but pull-ups use more of the brachioradialis muscle in the elbows, while chin-ups will use more of the biceps. Even though most people find chin-ups easier to begin with in their training careers, there's actually no clear winner as to which one pulls the most weight because once you get to the highest levels of those pull-ups and chin-ups, different athletes prefer different styles of pull depending on their body types and their preferences. Depending on natural differences in your muscle size, your muscle attachments, and your arm bone lengths, one of these is going to be the stronger choice for you. The thing is, you won't be able to see the differences that matter clearly enough until you've actually made some gains and built the skill in both of these movements. So I recommend training both of these fairly evenly for most people, at least for the first 1 to 2 years. Once you've got some more experience and program recorded behind you and you've got a clear winner, then you can make that one your primary focus if your goal is to pull with the most reps possible or pull the most weight possible. Getting the strongest pull-up or chin-up is also going to rely on you getting good at the skill of a good pull-up. The reason this good technique matters is because without it, you'll be forcing your lats to try and pull in ranges and positions that they're just no good at. From your hang, you want to initiate your pull by pulling your shoulder blades down and starting to arch your back. By aiming your chest up towards the bar, you've already gotten yourself through that first bit of shoulder range of motion and put your lat in a position where it's got much more leverage. Now when you pull, your lat will instantly get more activation. Because the lats actually attach all the way down to your lower back, as you go through the pull and the lats shorten, that arch in the back's actually going to make the lats even shorter again. Because muscles are stronger when they're at their mid-length, you're actually going to want to get out of that arch now by flexing and engaging the abs and aiming your legs forwards. This way you'll be able to keep the lats at a stronger mid-length as you make your way to the top of that bar and try and get your chin over for that end lock-off. Putting these together can take some practice, but once you understand the individual steps, you'll quickly get the feel for timing each component for one smooth pull. Let's talk about size, specifically the size of the gap in between your hands on a pull-up. If you want the strongest pull possible, it is about what feels right for you, but if you look at all the strongest pull-up athletes in the world, most of them pretty much end up with their hands just outside shoulder width. This tends to give people the best balance of getting the most out of their pecs in the initiation, the most out of their lats through the whole mid part of the pull, and the most out of the brachioradialis muscle in the elbows to pop their chin over the bar at the end. Depending on which parts of your lats are the strongest, your shoulder and wrist mobility, and how strong your biceps are, you might actually be better off going for a more narrow grip, turning your hands around and opting for a chin up instead. However, if working on back size is a primary goal for you, you're definitely going to want to mix different grips. Narrower forces you to pull up with the elbows more out in front, hitting the upper inner lats, while going wider gets better activation of the lower outer lats by forcing your arm path to come down more on your side. It's not binary, you'll always get a bit of both, but if you want the widest, biggest back possible, don't skimp on those extra wide variations. You get two choices when it comes to building pull-up strength. Once you get more than 8 to 10 reps, one is starting to add more weight. You don't even need a belt for this to begin with, just squeeze a dumbbell or plate between your thighs and you're good. Aiming to keep your sets within the 5 to 10 rep range and progressively adding more weight as you get better will guarantee good growth and strength development. Your other option is the pure calisthenics path, advancing with your more advanced bodyweight progressions. The best way to do this is to start working on going wider with your pull-ups, and once you're at about 50% wider than your normal pull-up grip, start swapping to arches. The best thing about arches is, like weights, you can actually quantify your progression by measuring the distance between your hands and progressively inching your hands out wider and wider as you get stronger. Each of these will take you super far, and then eventually, if you want to start working on one arm progressions, you can dust off the old beginner bands again, or just start trying to remove fingers one by one from that supporting hand. Whichever you choose, weighted and archer pull-ups are what's going to consistently and reliably build those pulling muscles and movement patterns, and are going to be the majority of your base for so many other pull exercises. Training pull-ups is not going to get you good at muscle-ups or high pull-ups. Not only is the technique completely different, but the way you train them should be too. You start trying to just get high with your normal pull-up technique, the best result you're going to get is just running your chest straight into the bar. Instead of trying to pull through the bar, you want to start to work on trying to bend the bar, rotating the shoulders and pulling the elbows in. When you pull like this, it automatically puts your elbows and arms and the bar in front of your body and allows you to pull on the arc that's going to get you around the bar rather than through it. Time this with a bit of swing and you'll be able to use all that lat drive to get maximum height. Muscle ups and explosive pull-ups aren't unlocked by just doing more pull-ups, just like you won't dunk a basketball just by doing more squats. Strength is not the same as power. While strength is about raw force, power is about generating force fast, which is a different skill entirely. If you want to get good at moving fast, you need to practice moving fast. Pull the bands out again and find a level of assistance that lets you start pulling with the same speed and height that you want to get without the bands eventually. Dial in your timing and make every rep as explosive and intense as possible. The second you start losing around 20 to 30% of that speed and height, probably around the 3 to 5 rep mark, you're going to want to end the set. Practicing slow reps does not train fast reps. As soon as fatigue starts to build, your brain starts to shut down those muscle fibers where the biggest fast twitch fibers that we actually want to train are. So instead of just adding more fatigue, end the set early, take a nice break, and then come back and only perform reps when you feel fresh and powerful. Strength is a big part of power, of course, so you do need to be building the muscle and strength with those bread and butter, weighted pull-ups or archer pull-up variations. But don't start thinking they're the same thing. Big muscles, big pull-ups. Pull-ups by themselves will build a lot of muscle where you need it most, but if you've ever had a look at any powerlifting program, you'll know that if they want to improve at an exercise, they don't just stick to that one exercise. Breaking the pull-up down into exercises that target the lats and the elbow flexors more individually will build more muscle than pull-ups alone, and the more muscle you have to work with, the higher your potential pull-up strength gets. If you're in the gym, cable pulls or rows are gold for the lats, as well as cable pullovers or their bodyweight alternative front lever raise progression. These take the elbows completely out of it and focus on the lats hard. Weighted and ring curl variations build those elbow flexors, particularly when you mix up the grips to target both the brachioradialis and the bicep muscles separately. It's hard to take pull-ups to a high level without focusing a huge amount of your training on the specific pull-up variation you've chosen. Problem then becomes when you start training your pull of choice 2 to 3 times a week to really hit that next level, you have to sacrifice training all those other pull exercises that are going to interfere if you start stacking too much pull volume into your program. If you're like me, you don't just want a heavy weighted pull-up, you want explosive muscle ups and high pull-ups, you want one-arm pull-ups, you want front lever variations, and more. The fix for this is cycling your main focus between different programs and knowing how to maintain your other gains at the same time. At the moment, my main priority is one-arm pull-ups, so for this 12-week program, I'm hitting them twice a week. With the leftover pull volume I've got, I'm hitting some paused weighted chin-ups and some weighted front lever raises, keep building some steady muscle while also keeping up the skill and the familiarity with the movement patterns of a chin-up and of front levers, which are so different to a one-arm pull-up. On top of that, I warm up for one of my workouts with 3 sets of 3 muscle ups, working on being as explosive as possible so I don't lose any of that speed that I've been developing, while also staying super far away from failure so there's almost no fatigue carried on for the rest of my workouts. After this program, I'll probably have my one-arm pull-ups on maintenance and rearrange things so that I make some real progress on one of my other pull goals. Maximizing your results across the board on something like pull-ups is always going to depend on how well you know how to mix strength, hypertrophy, and skill-based training for your specific goals. If you want some more guidance on how to get this right, check out this video.